Sonic Movie 3 is officially on its way, and it seems like every day we're getting brand new news about this movie. With an official release date of December 20th, it is coming extremely fast, and yet there is still a lot we don't know about this movie quite yet. The only things that we really know about this movie is the official release date, a glimpse of Shadow's shoe, and the official voice actor of Maria. And it also seems like they just recently started recording the voiceovers for the characters according to Ben Schwartz. And it also looks like even though he said he's retiring, Jim Carrey is on his way back to revitalize his role as Robotnik. It really seems like with what we know so far, this movie really has the tools to be extremely successful like the past movies. But the more that we continue to learn with all the teasers, rumors, and leaks, it seems like the expectations of this movie continue to keep skyrocketing. And truly for good reason, there is so much going for this movie, especially after the teaser we ended up getting at the end of Sonic 2. And with Shadow being announced and seamlessly being one of the main characters inside of this movie, it truly seems like this is going to be heavily inspired off of Sonic Adventure 2. And for good reason. Sonic Adventure 2, in my opinion, is one of the best stories inside of Sonic, and there is so much to be told here. And especially with Shadow for that fact, with how deep and dark his lore officially is. There's truly a lot to be said with Shadow, but it'll truly be interesting to see how they do that in live action form. But the one thing that people should consider is, yes, it should definitely take heavily inspiration off of Sonic Adventure 2, but it might not be all that alike Sonic Adventure 2 as people seem like it's going to be. And one thing I want people to think about is Sonic Adventure 2's story is extremely long, and it would be extremely hard to jam that into, say, a 2-hour movie. And I don't think the entire movie is just going to be completely ripped off of Sonic Adventure 2's story. And if you look at movies like Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, they're nothing like any of the games. They're completely original stories with completely original characters for that fact. And what I mean by original characters is Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, all those characters from the Sonic series, are nothing like their counterparts or they are in the games. For instance, with Sonic, in the movies, he's a lot more childish and immature. And within the games, he's a lot more cocky, confident, and easygoing. Not that movie Sonic is written wrong or anything like that, I truly think that's totally fine and totally an okay way of writing Sonic. They are just completely different. And even the story for that fact. I mean, if you look at Sonic Movie 1, it's nothing like any of the games. You can maybe make an argument that it's similar to the official Sonic 1 video game, but even that doesn't have that much story. But ultimately, that's why I think the Sonic movies do so well, is because they actually have a proper movie story. And I think Sonic 2 does an amazing job at this, with going more towards video game references and different stuff like Super Sonic being added and even showing Shadow at the end, and adding the likes of Tails and Knuckles. I think they did an amazing job keeping it very true to the games, but still an original story at that. And that's the really cool thing about these movies. With Sonic Movie 2, I had no idea that Super Sonic was going to be in it, or even that Shadow was going to be revealed at the end. There's just so much that they decide to add to make it more of an original story. And even comparing it to the likes of the Mario movie, it really seems like Illumination Nintendo just made a big love letter to Nintendo fans and Mario fans. There wasn't a really true story, it was just more of enjoying the ride and enjoying all the Easter eggs and visuals. I thought the Mario movie was great, but it wasn't keeping me on the edge of my seat at any point. It's the same old story over and over again of Mario saving the princess. And ultimately, that's why I think these Sonic movies are way better than what the Mario movie did. But going back to the extreme expectations of movie 3, we are now going into this and it seems like people continue to keep comparing it to Sonic Adventure 2. And I for one hope they take a lot of inspiration off of the video game, as I love the adventure games and they're what introduced me to Sonic as a kid. But I ultimately don't think that the entire movie needs to be based around that game, as I think there should be a lot more original writing, and it's stuff that's going to keep me on the edge of my seat, just like the past movies, as there are going to be things that I don't expect or never even thought that it could have been in this movie. But it really seems like even non-Sonic fans or a Sonic fan really seem like it's just going to be a carbon copy of Sonic Adventure 2 put into movie format. And I highly don't think that should be what we expect from this movie, and I think you're going to be extremely disappointed if you go into this movie expecting that. I would almost put money on that this is going to be a pretty original story, and it's going to be a lot different of a Shadow that we're used to. Sure, it'll be very true to what we know in the games, but I feel like his personality and his style are still going to be different. Of course, I'd love the cold, the emo, and badass Shadow that we know in the games, but I don't think that's necessarily the Shadow that we're going to get. I think there's going to be something different about him, I just don't know what yet. And that's kind of the beauty of not knowing, is you don't really know what to expect in the movie, and you truly get to enjoy the movie at the moment. There's even a lot of people talking about Maria's voice actor. Famous actress Aaliyah Brownie recently revealed that she's going to be playing the role of Maria Robotnik inside of Sonic Movie 3, and this got a lot of people talking about how the story is going to be based around what Sonic Adventure 2 is, or the Shadow the Hedgehog game for that fact. And I absolutely think it's necessary to go over possibly the Dr. Gerald Robotnik stuff, or even the Space Colony Arc stuff for that fact with Shadow's story, as I do think Shadow's story is amazing at that. But I really don't see them going out and just showing the full-on scene from Shadow the Hedgehog of the military basically killing her. As cool as it would maybe be to see a full-on movie completely taken and ripped from the games, I don't think that's the really way that they're going to go. And for that fact, I think killing a little blonde child on screen wouldn't go over very well with most parents. And I mean, hey, the memes are pretty funny about it, and I've gotten quite a bit of a laugh of myself out of them, but I definitely do not see this happening at all. It'll probably just be something similar to Sonic Adventure 2, where she just launches Shadow back to Earth, and then she just kind of casually goes away. Or what if Maria actually lived for that fact? What if Shadow thought she was gone, but ends up going to the Colony Arc and finding out that she's still there? I mean, the possibilities are endless with this movie, and I truly don't think people should necessarily be going into this with the expectation of, oh, it's going to be Sonic Adventure 2, because I really think you're going to be disappointed with this whole movie. And it's very possible that Sonic Movie 3 might just be the end of this trilogy. Sure, they could do some shows and stuff like this, and they definitely could draw it out to Sonic 10, and I'd still be going to the theater at release day, but I don't think this is going to happen. It definitely could happen if these movies continue to make money, and I mean, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? I think it just kind of would be dragging it along a little bit too far. Because if you look at movies that have an extreme amount of sequels, like for instance Transformers or Fast and Furious, you're going to notice that it's continuing to fall apart each movie. The actors all change, the voice actors change, the story just starts to get absolutely insane and off the rails. I don't want this for Sonic. As much as I'd like to see the likes of Amy Rose or Silver the Hedgehog, Blaze the Cat, Omega, and all of them get their more movie form to them and have their own time and spotlight for that, I don't want them to continue to stretch this out. Because at some point it starts to get repetitive and people start to stop watching. If this movie does absolutely insane numbers, and I'm talking better than any of the other Sonic movies, or even better than the Mario movie for that fact, making over $1 billion, by all means, keep making those movies because it's something is working. I just don't see it doing those kinds of numbers. But on the other hand, I do ultimately think that Sonic Movie 3 will be the best performing movie out of all of them. And I mean, hey, the more money for Sonic, the better for us Sonic fans, because lately we've been eating pretty damn good. And even with Sega stating that there's going to be a big budget project within Sega coming soon, this could potentially be a Sonic game, and they've said that they want to give more money towards the Sonic games. And with this movie doing well, this also helps out with other Sega games like Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, or even possibly bringing back the likes of Knights. Continuing to see Sega do super well is always a good thing for Sonic, and continuing to see Sonic for that fact do well is always a blessing for Sonic fans. I ultimately think this movie is going to do spectacular, and I think it's going to be insane when it comes to revenue, and especially with the likes of Jim Carrey coming back that ultimately kind of carried the last two movies, I think this is going to be absolutely insane. And for what the story is going to be, I have no idea what I could possibly even think about, but those directors have to have something cooking up in the studio. And with whoever voices Shadow, I'm sure they'll make a great decision with picking who that's going to be, whether it's Keanu Reeves, the rumored Hayden Christensen, or possibly even taking an old voice actor like Jason Griffin. Any of those would be personally fine with me, and I think they'll absolutely kill the role. And I truly can't wait to see all the other characters that might get revealed with this. If this is truly inspired off of Sonic Adventure 2, this would also leave room for people getting announced like Amy and Rouge, and possibly other characters being introduced into this. I mean, how funny would it be just to see in certain points or certain scenes where Big is just making his own cameo of just chilling in the background like he does in Adventure 2. And hey, if they're truly confident in thinking this movie is going to do well and they want to make a Sonic movie 4 or possibly go into more of a TV show direction, kind of like the Knuckles show, who's to say they aren't going to announce Silver at the end of this one? And who's to say they can't take inspiration off of Shadow the Hedgehog 2005 with adding the likes of the Black Arms and Black Doom? It really seems like Shadow the Hedgehog has seen a lot of praise as of recently, especially with the movie coming out with a lot of people replaying it and admitting that it's not that bad of a game and ultimately is a pretty damn good game at that. I don't think they should go completely off the rails, but I mean, who's to say that they wouldn't introduce like Jet the Hawk, for instance, or something simple like that as just like a side scene or a side story within the movie. you could definitely see certain things like that. Now, I don't think they'll go necessarily that extreme, but I don't think that we should limit ourselves to just Sonic Adventure 2. But ultimately, I am extremely excited to go see this movie on December 20th in holiday season. And by far, I think this is the most anticipated gaming movie in history. And this is by far the most excited I've been for a Sonic movie out of the trilogy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below and what you're excited to see in this movie, or maybe some expectations that you have for this movie. Be sure to always like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys within the next video. Peace.